Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Almost Clean Racing League, round number 5, season 7, around the streets of Baku. And we just have a few moments before we get things underway for an 18-minute qualifying session. My name is Mikcow, and I'll be taking you through the action this evening. Already been quite a bit of drama happening in the Discord prior to this race, and our championship leader and our reigning champion Destiel already coming under a bit of fire. We'll see how he douses those flames in a few moments time, but I'm really looking forward to this one. Baku always brings up something special, and yeah, it's going to be quite the wild ride. So 13 drivers on this grid this evening. We've got Crush there in the Mercedes, Dada in the Aston Martin, Dorshui in the Ferrari, Ekam and Zico in the McLarens, of course combined YouTuber and Silver Arrow in the two Williams cars, Formula Cringe in that Red Bull. We have Combat Rat and Addy in the Alpha Taris. We have ABK in the Alpine, and then the two Haas's of Magnussen Cube and our championship leader Destiel. So as the clock gets ticking, the overcast conditions here at Baku this evening should give the drivers quite a clear view of the track, but we'll see how they deal with it as the session progresses. Just give me a few moments. I'm going to set up a couple of things that somehow wasn't set up beforehand, because I am dumb. All right, there we go. So, no cars out on the track just yet. Don't know what they're waiting for. Perhaps some weather could shake things up. Maybe a few last-minute adjustments to the setup, if that is the case. But no action. So I don't think I've ever seen this before. Is it supposed to? These guys usually wait that long? Well, we see one of the Haas cars coming out. It is indeed our championship leader Destiel. Just making his way out of the pit lane, and he will be the first car on track, with just over 16 minutes to go in the session. Unfortunate there was such a small turnout for this one. Maybe the streets of the Baku city circuit intimidating quite a few of the drivers, but these brave souls that have decided to participate are in for a wild ride indeed. We just get things set up now so you all can see the lovely telemetry, and those of you who will be watching the race back after its completion, hello there. It's good to be back, and there are no pit medians for me to crash into this time. So the Baku city circuit, of course, one of the modern staples of the Formula 1 calendar, first introduced in 2016. Called the European Grand Prix in that particular season, and ever since it has always, barring a couple of races, always provided a magnificent show for Formula fans alike, and that is due no small part into this long 2.2 kilometer flat out section that I think still might be the longest flat out section on the entire calendar. I'm not quite sure about the length of the strip in Las Vegas, which Formula 1 will be going to towards the end of the year. But we'll jump on board now with our championship leader and our defending champion Desi as it goes through turn 1, nice and cleanly, and then looking for the little marshal post on the right hand side as your reference point for turn number 2. DRS wide open once again as he just powers down this straight, braking just before the 100-meter board into turn 3, keeping it nice and tidy, staying well clear of the walls on either side of the track, but making sure that he still uses all of the track available to him. Into the very slow technical bit, turns 5 and 6. And into turn 7 now, and then comes the narrowest part on the track, the dreaded castle section. A little bit easier to take in this year's release, of course, with the updates that they've made to the curbing. That was really quite a challenge going into the first part, turn 8. And now we approach what I like to call the esports corner, turn number 15. Losing the rear axle a little bit there is the Haas car. And I call it that because in games gone by, the fastest way was to absolutely fly over the apex curbing. But since you cannot do that, especially with the new ground effect cars introduced last year. Desio now hitting the rev limiter, and the DRS opens, and then the car is just screaming down this main straight. What's the time going to be? It is going to be a 1 minute 40.081 to start things off here in the session. And we'll see what other drivers are able to get close to that. Crush on his outlap just about to start, but we have the Alpine of ABK right behind him, and he's getting actually a very nice tow down this main straight. Is that going to help him? It puts him 1.7 seconds away from Destiel. So not a bad effort from the Alpine, if I do say so myself. Formula Cringe gets a bit closer than the Alpine, a 1 minute 40.396. And Dorshui slots in behind by about 0.8 of a second. We'll jump on board now with the AlphaTauri of Addy, as well, he was on a flying lap, but has since decided to back out of it. The front wing still looks intact, but maybe just wasn't happy with the lap, or maybe ran into some traffic, as the two Williams cars there getting ready to start and end their laps respectively. We'll jump on board with Silver Arrow as Magnussen Cube 1 minute 40.3 makes it a Haas front row lockout at the moment. Jumping in on board now with Silver Arrow, the Season 1 champion. And the Czech driver jumps up into 4th place. So a very nice effort there, but that is quickly derailed by Eckham, who takes that 4th place from Silver Arrow, going 0.3 faster than the Williams driver. A very nice lap there from Eckham, and I'm sure he'll be happy with that banker time. Check in now with Crush, who's just charging down the main straight as we speak. Very fast driver, puts it on the 3rd row, the 1 minute 40.7. So a couple of tenths between him and his close mate Eckham. Just to have a little bit of a rivalry going, if my memory serves, as the second McLaren comes across the line to start a lap, I believe. So we'll have to keep tabs on Azeko as they go around the Baku street circuit for the very first time in this session. Yellow flags in Sector 3, that's just Dorshui probably ran out of fuel. And it looks like Magnussen Cube has done the same, as has Eckham. So no yellow flags for binning it, which is what you always love to see. Okay, we'll jump on board now with Combined YouTuber, who's now approaching those yellow flags, but this isn't like real life, ladies and gentlemen. They are allowed to just whiz on through, as long as they don't cause any crashes. And the Williams are combined 141.1, puts himself right behind his teammate, with the Williams cars 6th and 7th. So pretty solid banker time, faster than Dorshui, but only by half a 10th of a second. Jumping back on now with Azeko, going through turn 15 into 16. And 16 probably the most important corner on the track to get right, especially that exit, because you just carry that speed all through these flat out corners of turns 17 through to 20. And If you make a mistake exiting turn 16, it's going to cost you a lot of time in this third and final sector. We'll see how Mikcow stacks up against the rest. He's able to give the wooden spoon to somebody else, but he's not able to do much better than that. Puts himself 9th out of the 10 cars that have set a lap time thus far. Let's have another driver coming in to partner Dorshui. It's Sneaky. Was Sneaky a very established name in the league racing community here in Oceania? So racing in AFR as well, and doing quite well in the Tier 2 Championship in this latest season. Combat right now, just on an outlap, about to start. And Addy looks like in the other AlphaTauri has also just started their next attempt at a flying lap. Both cars still yet to set a time on the board. So we'll check in with those guys a little bit later on their hot laps. And it's a purple Sector 1 for the number 7 Aston Martin of Dada. Going into turn number 7 as we speak. Lots of 7s happening, but for their sake, they probably aren't looking for a 7th place on the grid. They want to get probably a little bit higher than that one, because grid position making it all the more likely. The higher up you are, the less chance that you will be involved in some chaos that is often very, very common at the start of these 26 lap league races. And a purple sector too, my goodness. I don't know if the game's playing tricks on me or if Dada really is that fast, because no one has really been able to challenge that banker time set by Destiel at the start of the session, at least not just yet. Destiel looking to improve on that as he is about to start a hot lap of his own. And Dada, well, he probably wants now that 7th place now, because it's only 10th fastest for the Aston Martin 141.5. And we have the AlphaTauri of Addy about to set a lap time as well. Bailed that first lap, like we saw a few minutes ago. Actually, I think he just hit the wall as well, coming to the line. But it's 10th place now for Addy. Beats out Dada by 0.03 of a second, my goodness. Combat Route 142.7, a whole second off the rest of the field. There's still time, my mate, but only 6 minutes of it, so you better get a move on, otherwise you'll definitely be starting at the back of this grid. Only one car left to set a lap time, and that is Sneaky in the other Ferrari car. His teammate Dorshui just coming through turn 1 at the moment. So, just under 6 minutes to go, and currently it is a Haas front row lockout from the cringe, about to end his latest attempt. And we'll see if he's able to close that gap, jump Madison Cube, and challenge Destiel for that front spot on the grid. There's a yellow flag as it looks like the Alpine of ABK off in the runoff at turn 1 as formerly Cringe's first car in the 139s, a 139.928. About a 10th faster than championship leader Destiel. Looks like quite a clean lap, and as I say that, a big slide through the exit of turn 12. But the Singaporean driver making his way into turn 15, keeping it nice and tidy. A nice angle there, I do quite like that in this latest release. Destiel's actually come into the pit lane, so wasn't able to improve. Has to settle for second best for the time being, but still enough time for another run. Dorshui now coming towards the DRS detection point and the DRS activation point. That letterbox in the rear of that car wide open. Improves by 0.6, jump up to 5th place with a purple final sector. And we have the Mercedes as well behind them. Crush getting a very nice tow indeed. But I think Crush might just be heading into the pit lane, and yes, it looks like he is. Sneaky starting another lap as well. Jump on now with Magnussen Cube. Very up and down career thus far. Has shown tremendous pace, but has often gotten caught up in a bit of trouble. And he comes into the pit lane as well, not liking this latest attempt. So we'll have one more crack at it, just like his teammate, to really take back that Haas front row lockout that they had just a few moments ago. Looks like a lot of cars coming into the pit lane, and Combat Rat actually retiring from the session. So he is done. And he will start at best case from 13th on the grid. But Sneaky, I dare say, will probably improve on that time. 1:46.1, not really representative of the speed in that Ferrari. So we'll see what Sneaky decides to do, especially with only a little bit of time left in this session. You see his teammate Dorshui there hanging off to the side, out of fuel once again. It's getting a bit hairy between those two. Those two are the only cars out there on in-laps or preparation laps. But we do have a few cars now coming out of the pits for their final runs. Magnus and Cube, quick turnaround for the Haas Mechanics, Crush as well, Combined YouTuber and Addy, all making their way out of the pit lane. And the first of those cars looks like it will be Combined YouTuber. So have a quick look there at that Williams car coming through turn 13 as we speak. Very, very nice livery. I think all the liveries have been pretty solid this year. Didn't know how I felt about the red, the all-in red on the AlphaTauri, but it's since grown on me a little bit. But I still think having the red on the barge board is a bit jarring. I don't mind it on the rear wing, but having it on the barge boards makes the side profile look, well, special, I guess, for lack of a better word. So Combined YouTuber now starting what will be his final run with just over a minute and a half left to go in the session. So drivers are allowed to start their final flying laps before the timer hits 0, but they can't start anymore after that. They are allowed to finish one if they are already on a fast lap when that timer hits 0 and the checkered flag is waved. So Combined YouTuber currently sitting 9th on the timing tower with a 1:41.1, needs about 4/5 of a second if he wants to make any significant inroads up this grid and get close to his teammate Silver Arrow, who's currently sitting in 6th, the 1:40.6. The iconic green, red, and blue helmet, I guess it's red, green, and blue helmet, RGB color scheme that is run for many years now. Number 15 Williams on this occasion, navigating the castle section pretty well, but I don't know if the speed is going to be enough. We'll see what happens when he reaches the Sector 2 split in about 10 seconds time, and really eating the curb there on the apex of turn 15. He's found 2/10, which will jump him up one spot, puts him up into 8th at the moment, provisionally anyway. But he's hoping probably for some more inroads, as Sneaky has put it into the wall, it looks like, between turns 6 and 7. Hopefully it's not in the way of any of the cars, and it looks like it's been cleared pretty rapidly. So Dorshui didn't make it around time, actually stayed in the pits, I think. He stays 5th. Combined only improves to 8th place, like I said before. Crush looks like he's abandoned his latest attempt as well. Magnus and Cube now the next car to finish their final lap. Still only one driver in the 1:39s. But is there there's a Mercedes there going the wrong way. Wanting to start from the back of the grid, and hopefully that doesn't impede any of the other cars. Magnus and Cube can't improve enough to make any inroads. And Ekin will be the next car across the line to finish the session. Addy only can hope for 9th place of 1:41.2. The AI of Dorshui comes across the line as well to finish that lap. And Ekam jumps up into the top 3 with a 1 minute 40.137, only 4 milliseconds faster than Magnussen Cube. So very, very narrow gaps, basically nothing separating this grid at the moment. Aziko, his teammate, jumping up into 9th place, and it's just Dada going to finish his last flying lap, and it looks like Silver Arrow might have had a bit of an issue there at turn 16 as well. Dada goes up into 7th, puts it right behind Silver Arrow as Formula Cringe extends his advantage and goes a 10th faster, 139.8. So a very nice lap from the Red Bull, and considering the beef that our 2 front row sitters had prior to starting this session, well, he feels quite smug about himself at the moment, if I do say so. And why shouldn't he? He's put it on pole by a whole 2.5 tenths. So doing very, very nicely indeed. So confirmation of the grid order on your screens now, ladies and gentlemen. Formula Cringe, Destiel, and Ekam, your top 3, with Magnussen Cube, Dorshui, Silver Arrow, Dada, combined YouTuber, ABK, and Aziko. Rounding out the top 10 with Addy, Combat Rat, Sneaking, and Crush. Rounding out the back 4. Now, I did see a little rumor that there might be some rain going into this one. Of course, haven't had any written confirmation in the chat, at least none that I've been able to see. I don't know if my chat window is working as intended, but we'll just have to see, wait and find out. And I can't wait to see what kind of racing action these drivers deliver this evening. It's sure to be one wild ride. Is it going to be a wild ride or a wet and wild ride? Is it a wet and wild ride here in Baku? So probably explains the large gap between loading into the session, the green light going on, and the cars actually hitting the circuit. And yeah, wow. So this track is difficult to navigate at the best of times in the dry. And add the slippery surfaces. See a lot of sliding into barriers, sliding into other cars. And it really tests the driver's use of the pedals. These kinds of conditions need to be extremely smooth to get the most out of the cars. And we are going to go straight into this now, ladies and gentlemen. 5 red lights here in Baku for the 5th round of ACRL season number 7. And we are away. Looks like a pretty tentative start for most of the field. Crush getting a good one there at the back as Formula Cringe holds the lead into turn number 1. And it looks like he's going to be followed by Destiel, Ekam, Magnussen Cube, and Silver Arrow making up a place as well on Dorshui, as the cars is trying to navigate the spray as they make their way through this section of track. Ekam actually getting tangled up there at turn 2, dropping down 5, make that 6 places off the start. But a little bit of a slide there for our race leader, Formula Cringe. He's already coming under a lot of pressure from Destiel, and there's a bit of carnage going on behind them, almost 4 wide going. We see Crush into the wall there. Combat Rat making up, losing a spot off the grid actually. But most of the cars are staying pretty much where they are. The 2 Williams cars actually having a great start, both up 3 places at the moment. But it's a little bit of a procession as they make their way through the middle sector of the lap. And it's Formula Cringe, Destiel, and Silver Arrow well and clear from the field, and Magnussen Cube in the second half car acting as a bit of a bottleneck at the moment. Looks like Combat Rat struggling with a few issues in his car as well. We'll jump on board with combined YouTuber. He's trying to chase down Magnussen Cube, but is unable to keep the speed on these intermediate tyres. We go to the rear view there. We actually see a massive crash there. Looks like Doshu has been taken out by Ekam going into the wall. Or at least something happened between those two. I won't point fingers because I didn't get a good look at it, but definitely something happened between those two. So I'm sure there will be some words exchanged after the race. But the field already starting to spread out quite a bit. We see some nice groups forming as well. So hopefully these cars are able to sort out where exactly they stand in the pecking order, and we start to stabilize things a little bit as Steel and Formula Cringe going side by side into it, and some very hard racing there from the Red Bull trying to keep the lead of the race, and Silver Arrow is going to capitalize on that, making his way past the Haas of Steel, and even coming under a little bit of pressure from the Haas behind, is able to just about hang on to the position as a yellow flag. It's like Combo Rat having a bit of trouble with the turn 2 braking zone, and Steel clean around the outside as well of the Williams car. Very nice move indeed from the Singaporean driver. Couple of issues as well for the second Ferrari of Dorshui after that tangle with Eckham on the opening lap. And Eckham has also cleared combined YouTuber, so has freed himself from the train. And we'll see what he's able to do with this new situation. So yeah, the yellow flag now looks like Mikcow is out of the race, and we have a virtual safety car, ladies and gentlemen. We'll jump on board now, and there he is, right into the Tech Pro barriers at turn number 7. So what looked like a promising race for the McLarens has quickly turned into a disaster, as one of their cars already out of this one, and quite a bit of front wing damage, as you see there from on the Ferrari of Dorshui. I don't know if he actually got that at turn 15 from that collision we saw on the opening lap, or it was somewhere else at turn 3 where we saw him being a little bit slow as well. But yeah, unfortunate for Mikcow, and even more unfortunate for Addy, who's picked himself a speeding ticket, a drive-through penalty for the AlphaTauri. And he's going to have to serve that within the next 3 laps to avoid getting the Black 5 and the disqualification from this event. Silver Arrow chasing down Steel after the little tussle that they had. Formula Cringe just about building out a 1 second lead. So some very strong pace from the Red Bull. And we'll see if they are able to maintain this gap moving forward. Dorshui retiring from the session as well, and that is a full safety car now. Now, where has he gone and done that? I don't know if it'll be able to show us. Jump on board with Crush for the time being and see if we can get any kind of idea. It looks like it might actually be into the pit lane, I think. So we won't be able to get a good view of that, but that has brought out the full safety car. I don't know if there's going to be any more changes in the weather forecast, but this is probably the last thing you want if you're one of those top 3 cars. This is a godsend for cars like Magnussen, Cube, and Eckham, who didn't quite have the race start they were looking for. So they'll probably be very, very happy that the safety car has been brought out to basically neutralize the race, reset the race, and give them another opportunity to really attack the front 3 runners. Sneaky having a little bit of trouble with the delta on his dash, having to come to a complete stop at the apex of turn 3 to get that delta under control. Jump back with the 3 cars leading this one. Formula Cringe having a really, really nice race so far. A little bit aggressive at turn 2 with his defense against Steel, but was able to hold on to the lead of things, and will be leading this restart in a few laps time. So he will have the advantage of at least having an opportunity to get the jump on Steel, and since it is just a complete straight when you are doing this restart, you can just put your foot to the floor, make sure you avoid that wheel spin, and you should, given the human reaction time, usually have about a 5 to 6/10 gap by the time you reach turn 1. You can see there from the offboard a few cars heading into the pit lane. We have Madison Cube, combined YouTuber, and Data. Madison Cube getting a change of front wing as well. That will mean combined will jump him into the pit lane. I'm not sure if that's exactly the strategy that Madison Cube would have wanted, given how much Combine has struggled already in these conditions, but we'll see how this decision affects the Haas driver. Both AlphaTauris double stacking as well, getting some damage repaired. And this is going to allow Sneaky to jump up quite a few spots as Crush entered the pit lane as well to get a change of front wing, which you now see on your screen. It's only lap 4 of 26 and already so much has happened. So I'm glad that there is already some action out on the track, but I'm a bit concerned that we won't have any drivers left after this one, because a friend of mine has a famous saying that safety cars breed safety cars. Since the field is all bunched up again, and all of these opportunistic drivers have a shot to really make their races come alive and really promote themselves higher up the pecking order for some greater points. Of course, all drivers, if they do manage to get classified in this one, will score points, because the points for ACRL go down to 15 instead of the regular top 10 that you see in the real life FIA Formula 1 World Championship. So you have the positions gained and lost on your screen. Biggest winners so far at this stage of the race anyway have been ABK and Sneaky, up 4 places each. Silver Arrow going from 6th to 3rd as well. A very nice start for the Williams, as his teammate has also made a spot, has been able to keep. Addy as well. I think he might still make it up a spot. I'm not quite sure what that graphic means, but of course running into a few issues at the start has really set him on the back foot, as the Delta looks like has come into effect once again. You can see the AlphaTauri slowing down as Combined YouTuber has gone into the pit lane once again. So I'm curious, and that's a front wing as well. I don't know what's happened with Combined YouTuber, but he pitted the lap ago and is now getting a new nose. So what was looking like a decent safety car restart spot for the Williams has turned into disaster. Still inside the top 10, but has lost out quite a bit of track position, and in these wet conditions it can be quite hard to overtake when you don't have the assistance of the DRS down the main straight and that run between turns 2 and 3. So hopefully this should be the last lap under safety car. So just waiting for Crush and Combat Rat to make their way to the back of the queue. And then we should get this race underway once more. Jump up now with the Aston Martin, who's apparently ghosted at this point. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Madison Cube certainly is not ghosted. See the rain lights flashing as well. So Combat Rat and Crush just about to make their way to the back of the safety car queue, and we should get the call from race control that the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap, and there it is. So we'll jump right up to the front of the train, and Formula Cringe in that Red Bull car will lead them away to start lap 6 of 26 here in Baku. We'll jump on board with our race leader as the safety car has now entered the pit lane, so he's able to go whenever he feels like it. Very tentative on the start. You can hear the revs going up a little bit. He's speeding up a little bit. He's actually hit the Haas of Destiel. I don't know what's going on there. That's given himself a 5-second time penalty, so he's absolutely butchered that restart. I don't know what on earth was going on there, but if we look at the rear view, everyone making it through nice and cleanly. And there's, well, there goes ABK around at turn 2. So very, very unfortunate there for the Alpine after looking so nice. We're currently watching Magnus and Cube sitting in 5th place at the moment. You can just see the amount of spray that these drivers are going to have to deal with. And just give me 1 sec there as well, so you can see what's going on. Unlike our drivers, looks like the spray has cleared up at least just a little bit. At least for us here. I might have found another visual bug. So I don't know. But at least we are able to see what's going on now. Yeah, it's really treacherous out there for the drivers at the moment, Blake. It's not looking great. Not looking great at all. Especially if you are a race leader, Formula Cringe, after the little antics that you performed on the restart. So we'll have a look at Silver Arrow, as it looks like there's been a change of position there. Destiel in Formula Cringe swapping spots. So we'll jump on board now with the Williams. You can hear the revs just hitting that limiter, but is unable to find the overspeed required to go for a pass. And the spray's back. How awesome. So Destiel leading them away, setting a new fastest lap, as well as Silver Arrow locking the rear axle as well. Really struggling in these wet conditions. As Crush and Combined YouTuber make a swappable position, as does Combat Rat and Sneaky as well. In fact, Sneaky's found the runoff at turn 2. So his day is going from bad to worse, and Ferrari in the dumps once again. So very, very unfortunate for Sneaky. Jump up now again with Madison Cube, who's pushing Ekim through turns 5 and 6. Has a little look going into 7. But the number 69 Haas car decides better of it. And you can see the closing speed from the AlphaTauri behind. As Addy still just trying to stay within a second of these guys in front of him. So Destiel starting to stretch his legs a bit, 1.1 seconds between himself and his nearest rival. We'll have a look now with Silver Arrow, who is chasing down Formula Cringe for that runners-up spot, with Ekim and Magnus and Cube just behind, and a bit of a mistake there from Formula Cringe going into turn 15. That might give Silver Arrow a bit of an opportunity. He's very close to the back of that gearbox, but still no real opportunity. Looks like Formula Cringe going defensive through the kinks of turns 17, 18, and 19. And that's going to put him under pressure now. Look at that Silver Arrow jutting out to the left-hand side of the track. Having a drag race now is going to overtake the Red Bull. Looks like Ekim and Maxim Cube might be trying to do the same thing, but the Red Bull comes on the counter-attack, the inside line for turn number 1, and even hits the wall. And look at Magnus and Cube there, right on the inside. It's going to be 3 wide, ladies and gentlemen, going into turn number 2. Oh, this is going to end in tears, and it has. Silver Arrow has been put into the wall. Hopefully the front wing is still intact, but that was never going to end well. You can't pit 2 cars through there at the best of times, let alone 3. But Ekim is the one that has profited from that one, inheriting the 2nd place of the race. However, I don't know how much longer it's going to be. 2nd place, Formula Cringe, getting caught up in that kerfuffle at turn 2 as well. Magnus and Cube promoted to 3rd. Addy up into 4th, and Crush following suit. And Destiel just really showing why he's the reigning champion. 3.3 seconds already between himself and Ekam now. And that gap, I fear, will continue to grow as this race progresses. Got some very nice camera shots of the McLaren as it's trying to stay in front of the Haas of Magnus and Cube, who we will jump on board with now, heading towards turn 15. Trying to find a way past, but not able to do so at the moment. Being nice and easy on that right foot. Short shifts up into 5th gear. Nice to downshift to 6th to make sure that the car stays out of the tech bros. It has that overtake on, has the slipstream as well. No DRS in these conditions, mind you, so it's going to be about the pure slipstream and the power of the battery. He's gaining, but it isn't enough to make a move. Blocks the rears going into turn number 1, and he's going to have to wait for a better opportunity to pass the McLaren. Looks like Silver Arrow did end up sustaining some front wing damage at turn 2. He's into the pit lane now for a fresh set of intermediate tyres and a new nose as well. So very, very unfortunate after what was a very, very nice opening few laps. And there's been another crash. This time it's Madison, Cube and Ekam at turn 3. So I guess you just don't want to be in second for this one, because if you're there too long, you're going to get killed. And that means that Addy has been promoted up into second, but he has the Mercedes of Crush all over his gearbox. And it's going to put him under a lot of pressure. But yeah, Magnussen, Cube and Ekam losing out big time in this. See the onboard from Crush going through the castle section. Very scary to drive through there in the day, because the sun is just in your eyes going up the hill, and it's really, really difficult to make out where exactly the track limits are and where the apex of turn number 11 is at the top of the hill. Just blinded by the sun going up. It's Destiel now up to a 4.5 second lead over Addy and Crush. But I think there might just about be a change for that runners-up spot. So go back into the spray. We'll jump on board and you can just hear that Mercedes engine just working overtime as Crush goes up the inside. Addy's still there on the outside, has to leave the room, and Crush gets that move done nice and cleanly. A very nice overtake from the Mercedes. And Crush moves himself up into second place and has the opportunity now to chase down Destiel, whose teammate is coming under a lot of pressure. Is actually applying a lot of pressure, I should say, to Formula Cringe, having a drag race down into turn 3. We'll see if the Red Bull's able to hold on. Oh, they leave the room, but just about enough. A little bit of a tap going through turn 3. Another tap going through turn 4. This Red Bull's unhinged and he's been pinched into the wall, and that's going to allow combined you two to just fly on by. Say thank you very much. I'll take that 4th place from you both, and have fun getting untangled, untwisted from each other. So yeah, this Red Bull really has it out for the Haas cars today. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's the second time that he's been caught up with the Haases. Unfortunately, not much action further back in this field. You can just see in the backgrounds there that Ekam is slowly making inroads on Formula Cringe as well, as is Dada in that Aston Martin. We'll have a look at how the Aston Martin's doing. The number 7. Of course, shout out to Kimi. Hope he's doing well in his Formula 1 retirement. What a legend. Looks like ABK struggling with turn 15, and Combat Rat getting past for that 9th position. I mean, at this point, you just have to keep the car in one piece and facing the right way, and you'll do well with the amount of spins and crashes and probably the amount of post-race penalties that are going to be applied. But you can just hear the difference in Ekham's engine and Dada's engine, as Ekham really using everything that the power unit has available to go for a move on Formula Cringe, and is able to make a nice clean move into turn number 1. So very, very nicely done from the McLaren. But it's his favourite driver, Magnussen Cube ahead of him. And we saw how those two have squabbled a few laps ago, so hopefully everything's able to be a bit cleaner this time. And Combat Rat finding the escape road at turn 2 as well. Silver Arrow recently set the fastest lap of the race and is going for a move on ABK as well, going into turn number 3, and it's a very, very nice move indeed. Very clean move from Silver Arrow as he's trying to recover what he can from this race, but 16 seconds of clear air in front of him, that's a big gap to make up, but he has the time to do so. So that's the important thing. His teammate though, under a little bit of pressure, as Magnussen Cube actually having a massive slide out of turn number 12, and that's going to open the door for Ekham to just breeze by around the outside of 13. And now Ekham is the one putting Combined under the pressure. And it looks like Magnussen might have cooked those rear tires of his, sliding again coming out of turn 15. So getting quite eager and impatient on the throttle, which is the last thing that you want in these kinds of conditions, because it's all about letting the tires grip up and working with the car to get the pace out of it, not forcing it to go faster than it wants to. Desio coming into the pit lane for his first and probably only scheduled stop, as we're just about to reach the halfway mark with that 12 of 26, and a very nice battle happening ahead of the Haas between Ekham and Combined YouTuber. Ekham going for yet another move down into turn 2. Leaves enough room for one car this time. And Combined trying to hang it around the outside. It's a drag race now between the two Mercedes powered cars. We'll see who has the edge. It's Ekham that has the inside line, but Combined can go a little bit later on the brakes, but Ekham just squeezes him out, and that's going to allow Magnussen Cube to get alongside, as well as Formula Cringe, trying to follow the Haas through, as Combined is now pushed offline, so he's going to have to try and recover swiftly, and manages to do so. Slots himself right between the Haas and the Red Bull, stopping the Red Bull in its tracks. That's probably the last thing that our pole sitter wanted. He's trying to recover from the incidents earlier in this race. So we'll see how the undercut goes. It looks like Destiel actually in a lot of traffic. So our net race leader at the moment, this is the sight on board. And you can see a lot of cars to negotiate, and they're all going a lot slower comparatively, and even hitting the walls as well, as Dada jumps out of the way after that little mistake. But how much time has it cost the Haas? Is the undercut still going to be as powerful as it has been in seasons gone by, or is the traffic with the cold tyre warm-up beaten enough? We'll have to wait another lap to find out, as Crush has decided to stay out for yet another one, as has Addy. There's one car ahead of them going into the pit lane. It's Magnussen Cube, so the second half car hitting early. But he's the only one out of this train for what is effectively third in the race, I believe. Third or fourth. Formula Cringe diving up the inside. Oh, and he's put Combined in the wall. Oh my goodness me. He's not having it today, is he? And a very aggressive defense between himself and Destiel. The pit stop gap between these two, remember, He's just turned in on the Haas. Oh, and there's contact once again. Destiel keeps the car going. But I think this might be... There might be some strong words for the Red Bull after this one. It hasn't been great. It's called almost clean for a reason, I suppose. It's a work in progress. Combat Rat this time finding the escape road at turn 3. So you're just coming onto your pictures now. Really struggling, as is Sneaky, who is coming for what he hopes will be his final pit stop. Nearly a lap down almost from our race leader Crush, who's on your screens now. So, will Crush go into the pit lane? The answer is a resounding no. So, still got some left in those intermediate tyres. About half a second off his personal best at the moment. So, maybe hoping for another safety car. Combat Rat definitely trying to aid in Crush's endeavour, but is able to keep the car going in the castle section, which is always what you want to see. Formula Cringe now coming into the pit lane, as is the Williams of Combined YouTuber as well, for their scheduled pit stops. But unfortunately for us here in the stream, there's not really a whole lot of close battles happening at the moment. Closest one, probably at least, is the one between Ekim and Destiel. Oh, as a combat, saw there briefly. You heard it, you heard the crunch, and he's out of this race, and that has given us a full safety car. So I think Destiel's made up enough time that he will inherit the lead of this race. But that does also mean that Crush, most likely anyway, will be in second place with, what, maybe 5 lap fresher tyres? 5 or 6? As Formula Cringe gets a drive-through time penalty for speeding under the safety car. So the Red Bull driver's day goes from bad to worse, from being on pole by 2.5 tenths to 8th place with a drive-through penalty halfway through this one. So we'll see where Crush is able to emerge. I do think it will be in second place because all the drivers behind him are going to pit as well. And there'll be a 4-lap tyre advantage as well, so knocks the rear axle going into the pit lane. But it needs to be a good stop from the Mercedes mechanics, and it's absolutely perfect. That was a very quick pit stop. You can see Destiel on the left-hand side, just going through turn 1. And indeed, Crush will emerge in second place. And through all the drama, Addy's actually also in a net third. So the AlphaTauri has done very well for himself. Of course, Addy, I believe, is a race winner from memory on that fateful day in Emilia-Romagna. So, has experience up at the front. Is always a fan favourite as well. Unfortunate for Combat Rat, just asked a bit too much of the car in that final sector. Talked about how in qualifying in the dry, that turn 16 is the final proper corner, as the rest are just flat out kinks that you just have to manage the steering wheel, but that isn't quite the case in these wet conditions. They're a bit more challenging to navigate, as we've seen. But this does give us here in the stream and in the chat a very entertaining final half of this race, because it was looking like Destiel was just going to run away with it. And the gaps were starting to spread out a little bit as the true pace of all the drivers sort of shows itself. And there's less drivers out of position. Still though, quite a few laps to go. I'm going to have to wait for Sneaky, who's all the way back at turn 2, to catch up. Now what that means in terms of the tyre wear, I'm not entirely sure. But one thing I do know, that's staring me right in the face, is that the age difference between Destiel and Crush is 3 laps. And are those 3 laps going to matter at the end? Possibly, with how quick the cliff is in this new game, this new tyre model. Who knows? We'll have to wait and find out. And I am really excited to see how this one concludes. And there's a bit of drama here already. Addy and Madison Cube swapping places. I think Crush definitely has it in him. Crush definitely has the potential to jump Destiel and become a race winner once again, but we've seen how fast Destiel is in that Haas, both this season and last, so it's going to be quite the task for the Mercedes, but I'm sure that he has the capabilities to snatch that race win away and to be declared the king of the streets of Baku for season number 7. Because that's all you really want. That's the most prestigious title. Forget Monaco, forget Las Vegas, forget Miami. You know, this is the real jewel in the crown. Especially in these kinds of conditions, like my goodness. How just think about treading on eggshells, right? You have to like imagine that there are very fragile eggshells underneath your right foot as well. You can't just slam the throttle and expect the car to grip up, because it won't. You have to be very progressive with the throttle input. You have to be very smooth and calculated with your steering. And it's even more of a challenge when you're fighting another car. No wonder we've seen so many incidents in this one so far. Because it's hard to drive in these conditions. So all these drivers that are remaining have done a fantastic job to keep their cars going. Some have done it better than others. But on the whole, it has been just your average Baku race, really. Can't really complain. Hopefully it should be one more lap of safety car, so just wait for this guy to make his way to the back of the field. But I might be wrong now, because as you can see, or maybe what you can't see, I can't see a front wing. So I don't know what Sneaky's doing, but hey, he's given his Ferrari mechanics a lot of pit stop practice. And if you're a Ferrari fan, it's not a good day for you. Hasn't been a good last few years. In fact, Madison Cube also came in as well to get a fresh set of intermediate tyres on, but he's given up his track position, so I don't know if he got some wing damage somewhere or just wanted a fresh set of tyres. But or perhaps, right, just wants to have a little bit of fun trying to do some overtaking. Because, you know, that's Baku, you know? It's one of the few tracks where there are some very, very obvious overtaking zones that are rather simple, but also, in these kinds of conditions, quite challenging as well. So, Sneaky with that new front wing, flying down towards turn 3. I really hope that we're going to get things underway at the end of this lap because, well, we don't need Sneaky. Sneaky's fast enough. He'll catch up. Don't worry about it. However, the longer that these drivers are behind the safety car, the more anticipation builds up. And for me personally, up here in the comms box, just a bit boring. But race control have heard my prayers. Lights have gone off on the Mercedes, and Bernd Mailander going to make his way to the pit lane. And it's Destiel this time leading things for this restart. So Sneaky has some catching up to do. Like I said, has the speed, can do it. Had a very, very strong race in the rain last Sunday. So more than capable of making some inroads. But jumping on board with our race leader, looks like he's gone already. Bernd Mailander is in the pit lane, but he hasn't caught Crush off guard whatsoever. Tries to break the toe as we go green on lap 18 of 26 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And Destiel going very, very defensive into turn 1. The back of the field there is all things looking nice and clean. As Addy and Eckham trying to make some progress up towards Crush. Destiel flying away though, 6/10 the gap, and that's Eckham, who has made his way past Addy, and Addy losing 2 places now as Silver Arrow makes up some places as well. Up the inside, and Addy's gone down the escape road. Oh no. That's so unfortunate. After such a clean and just a great race. Now, and he's thrown it all away. Ah, well. At least he's still in the top 10 and is still due for some solid points. Meanwhile, while that was going on, Magnus and Cube making up a couple of spots. Now up into 8th place. And is really pushing ABK through turn 7. But still has that company as well. So it's really important for the Haas to be able to make some ground. As the gap already between the top 5 and the rest of the field, combined YouTube are really struggling on this restart. 3.5 seconds already. You can just see that on your screens now. We saw just the rear of that Red Bull come through a few moments ago, and well, it is quite a sizable gap already. Jumping up towards the front of things, we have a potential overtake for the lead. Destiel trying to break the slipstream yet again as Crush sets the fastest lap of the race. Destiel going incredibly defensive, and that's going to open up the switchback for Crush. He takes the inside line now, going through turn 2, and he will take the lead of the race, but Destiel close behind, followed by Eckham and Silver Arrow. With Formula Cringe there getting into a few issues as well into the pit lane. So here's our pole sitter now at the back of the field once more. And Crush, our new race leader, having 3 other cars to contend with. Destiel, Eckham, Silver Arrow, 4 different cars, all with a hunger to take home the crown. Some very close gaps at the front, and then with Madison Cube as well making his way through the traffic, already recovering up into 5th place, has some clean air to really put his foot down, stretch his legs, and close that gap to Silver Arrow in 4th. Just keeping an eye on things at the back as well. Things looking pretty stable at the moment. Crush actually showing why those 3 laps of tyre difference is important. Building out a second already. He's absolutely flying in these wet conditions. That's getting very close there to the Tech Pro on the outside of turn 19. That's the last thing that you want if you are a Haas fan. But it's like Eckham going... Yeah, he thought about it. He thought about a move into turn 1. Swarman Cringe makes it past Sneaky for the wooden spoon as well. Yeah, only 3 laps difference in the tyres, but it's making a world of difference at the moment as Deciel's tyres must be hitting the cliff relatively soon and still has 6 laps to go. Eckham once again diving out to the inside, having a little bit of a look, trying to spot that braking point for turn number 3, but still can't find a way past the Haas of Destiel. And it looks like Silver Arrow is going to get involved in this fight as well, taking off, staying off that racing line, trying to pick up the water to keep the tyres cool. If that's modeled into the game, I'm not sure. Probably not. But still adding to that sense of realism. Going off, trying to find the water, trying to find the grip. And Destiel really coming under a lot of pressure now from the 2 cars behind him. We'll just briefly jump back with Addy in 9th place, who's chasing down Dada. As this train in the midfield starts to spread a little bit. This is the closest gap on the track at the moment. And just like the fans in the grandstands, without any head cover, mind you, in this torrential rain, they are cheering these cars on. Jumping on board now with the AlphaTauri. Doing very nicely indeed. But we'll have to jump back up once again. The McLaren. The Mercedes engine again. Destiel getting very close to that Tech Pro barrier. It's only going to be a matter of time, I fear, when he runs a little bit too wide, asks a bit too much of the tyres, and it's all going to be over crushed. 153.4 new fastest lap. 2 seconds faster than Eckham's previous lap as he's looking around the outside of turn 1. Destiel defends it well, costing us a little bit of time to crush up in front, but he's desperate to hold on to this runners-up spot. And Eckham still has to be careful because if he makes a single mistake, Silver Arrow, who's behind, you can see there in the wheel tracks as well, is going to be there to pounce. Destiel goes defensive once more. Picks out the braking point well, but just the grip difference between the 2 sets of intermediate tyres, and he's made it through. Eckham has made it up into 2nd place, Destiel down to 3rd, and those tyres just aren't working the same for him as he would want in these conditions and these circumstances as well. This is when he really needs the grip from those tyres, but they're not offering what he requires. So it'll be Silver Arrow's turn next to try and make his move past the Haas. And what looks like a pretty simple race win for Destiel has quickly turned into quite a challenge just to stay on the podium. See Silver Arrow just almost pushing him towards Esports Corner. Yes, that is its official name now. I'm coining it. The Esports Corner. Through 16 now into 17, 18, 19. And yeah, 2 seconds already as well between Destiel and Eckham. Like those tyres, you wouldn't think that 3 laps difference would have this kind of impact. But clearly it does in this new tyre model. So take that as you will, and hopefully this will give you some knowledge to go into future league races with as you progress through your league racing career. Again, Destiel having to go on the defensive in the turns 1 and 2. Silver Arrow struggling to get on the power. A little bit further behind than we saw Eckham be. And Silver Arrow's going to have to wait for another opportunity to make his move. But he still has a few laps to do it, and those tyres on the Haas are only going to wear out more and more. In fact, again, going... Maybe that's just his wet line, but he opens up turn 5 really nicely and gets really, really close to the back of his competitors. But unfortunately, because the straight between turn 6 and 7 is so short, you can't exactly make a dive and have a real solid golden overtake. Unless you've just absolutely nailed that exit. As combined YouTuber and Formula Cringe trading places at the back. So we'll have a look here as combined getting all out of shape out of turn 7. As this Formula Cringe, oh, and just about keeping it out of the wall. My goodness. It's a bit of a heart and mouth moment right there for the Red Bull. After what has already been quite a disappointing race. That would have been absolutely unfortunate, an unfortunate way to end. But not as unfortunate as Destiel's podium hopes. You can just see how close the Williams of Silver Arrow is now, and you'd think surely with this amount of battery that you can see on the dash that he's going to have the speed to make the overtake. Has to use the slipstream as a bit of a slingshot. Both about even on the brakes. He's going to try and hang it around the outside, and there's just about enough room between the two cars, and Silver Arrow is through to take that final podium place away from the driver that was leading about 10 laps of this race. And now isn't even on the podium. Very soon he's going to start coming under threat from Magnussen Cube, his teammate behind, who's on 5-lap fresher tyres compared to Destiel. So maybe the call was indeed to go into the pits. I dare say that Destiel's place in the top 5 is pretty safe with a 9-second gap back to ABK, but I mean, he must have just been absolutely gutted with that. We'll jump back a little bit further with Addy, who's currently sitting in 8th spot. Once again, trying to find a way past the number 7 Aston Martin. And has yet to find a suitable opportunity, which can be quite difficult, we've said already. But he kind of needs to make a move on, because Formula Cringe, who we saw as pace, the Red Bull did start on pole, mind you. He has some pace, and it's only going to be a matter of time before Addy starts coming under a lot of pressure from Formula Cringe behind. And, you know, the sister team, you know, Dynamic, I mean, it's not quite the same because all the cars are equal spec, equal performance. But probably Helmut Marko on the phone is going to be wanting Addy to move right out of the way for Formula Cringe to try and salvage at least a couple more places from this race. The Cast Car's actually having a bit of a battle as well going into turn 2, but we'll have a look here as Formula Cringe makes a move on the sister team, and Addy has to settle for 9th. What a shame. What a shame that he was 3rd at the restart, and now his best hope is probably either 8th or 9th place. Formula Cringe now actually using the slipstream to great effect. Is he going to go for a dive? He is going to go for a dive down into turn 3. Stops the car in time, and what a move. What a move from the Red Bull driver, now up into 7th, and has some time to perhaps fight for that 6th place. I used to drive in this league, Blake, but not anymore. League racing isn't for me. At least not anymore. Was a few years ago, but since I've hung up the helmet, hung up the gloves, only for special occasions or when I'm insanely bored, and that's that. There's some very nice moves. Great respect as well. But does that respect stay between teammates as well? Formula One recently releasing a video on their YouTube channel, the top 25 times teammates have collided. Well, maybe we need that for league racing as well. And these two are going to hope that they're not on that list. But with 8 tenths between them, it looks like Magnussen Cube just holding station for the final 2 laps of this race. Not really many gaps to really take note of. Addy is slowly closing in on Dada behind in that fight for 8th place. And all three of those cars, actually, Formula Cringe, Dada, and Addy, are catching up to the Alpine of ABK. So, might see a few last lap fireworks. We'll just have to hope that those fireworks aren't made of carbon fiber. For my sake, for the admin's sake, for the steward's sake, and of course for the driver's sake as well. But a big dive there from Addy in the background on Dada going into turn 3. I don't know if, and it looks like Dada might have actually hit the wall. This is missing that right end plate from his front wing, so not exactly sure what happened between those two, or if it was an incident from a previous encounter. But yeah, things not looking great. Looks like Addy is going to take that 8th place eventually, but it's going to have to wait a little bit. And Formula Cringe as well has closed that gap to ABK and has an opportunity to take that 6th place. Oh, very close. Going into turn 15. Tries to open up the corner a little bit more, get a better exit. You don't usually see dives into 16, but there's contact between the two, and there goes the Alpine spinning off. So I think that's a score of maybe 2 clean overtakes to about 7 unclean ones. So Formula Cringe has really not had a great race. Really not had a great race at all. 2 Haas cars going at it once again as the leaders have now started the final lap of the race. And we'll see if Dada is able to get back past Addy. Goes to the inside. And just the speed of that Mercedes power unit. Wow. Up the inside. Easy as you like. But with that front wing damage, it's going to be quite the task as Addy's coming back on the counter-attack. This is the last lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the last opportunity that these drivers have to maximize their points haul. All of them will get points for being classified, but how many points remains to be seen. Dada trying to hang it around the outside. A has that inside line, leaves plenty of room this time around. But looks like Dada is going to have to settle for 9th place. Just slots in behind, and it's going to be quite the task to hold on to that place and stay with the AlphaTauri in front with that front wing damage. But as Sneaky is navigating himself out of the turn 1 runoff, we jump back up once again to the front of the grid and Crush. What a race. Had a little bit of luck on his side. Did start from the back. Did reverse on that main straight to get himself the black flag to start this race from the back. He has indeed completed the last to first challenge with a little bit of luck on his side as well. But has shown tremendous pace on these intermediate tyres, and across the line he goes, and he will win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix for ACRL season number 7. Ekim, his good mate, will take the runners-up spot, and Silver Arrow completes the podium for Williams. A very, very solid drive indeed. Destiel and Madison Q make it a Haas 4 and 5. While it's still a good result for the team, I'm sure they were both hoping for better after their very strong qualifying performances. And then 15 seconds back, Formula Cringe, our pole sitter, provisionally will finish the race in 6th. But after the amount of chaos that he caused during this one, I dare say he will not be holding on to that 6th place whatsoever. But as things stand right now, ABK coming across the line in 7th, Addy in 8th, Dada in 9th, and combined just missing out in 10th place there. And Sneaky, a minute and 2 seconds behind at the moment, is going to finish in 11th and last of the finishers. So once again, with no front wing, I don't know how many he's gone through. I'm sure Ferrari are out of front wings at this point, and that repair budget is looking very, very grim. Good thing that there is no cost cap in league races, otherwise Ferrari would be in quite a bit of trouble, if I do say so myself. Sneaky having a little bit of a celebration weave coming through the last kink of turn 20. Victory lap, as it were, for the wooden spoon. It is Sneaky. And there we go. That is round 5 of season 7 of ACRL done and dusted. It's in the history books, ladies and gentlemen. And Crush is your driver of the day. No surprises there. No, drove phenomenally. A world-class drive as per usual. And I believe that makes him... Does this give him a second win of the season? I think so. I think so, but I'm not entirely sure. Someone in the chat might want to correct me on that. But as we see the podium celebrations, Crush there holding up the winner's trophy with a very, very long handshake as well. It's an uncomfortably long handshake, in my opinion, but you know what? You've earned it. Well done. Well done. The difference in tyre life and the tyre age as well, playing a huge factor in the result of this one. So, look at the provisional race results. Crush taking home the full 26 points with the fastest lap of a 1 minute 53.405, with Ekim and Silver Arrow rounding off the podium. The two Haas's of Destiel and Magnus and Cube 4th and 5th, Formula Cringe, our pole sitter, in 6th, ABK 7th, Addy in 8th, Dado in 9th, and combined rounds out the top 10 with Sneaky in 11th, and unfortunately 3 drivers unable to finish, with Combat Rat, Dorshui, and Aziko in that order. Well, thank you for joining me on this really, really crazy race. Yeah, it was fun. This was fun. I'm not going to say that I will be doing this every week, but hopefully more often than not. So thank you for joining me in watching this race. I've had a blast, entertaining as always, and I'll see you guys and gals next time. Bye for now.